3, and then place 4 with Cindy, Bill, and Roxy. We'll give everybody a second to come up. And just to double check, hopefully everybody that is now up on stage was paying attention. When we went over the rules, the format will stay similar in that everybody will have introductory statements of 1 minute apiece. We'll start it off with the top of the ballot in each race. And let me just say right now, a lot of candidate forms have broken it out into place 2 and place 4. These all folks, 2 on this stage will be, unless it's the 7th, but 2 on these 2 races will be serving on the city council as part of one body. And so in our opinion, of those organizations participating, it was important to bring everybody up so you could hear their answers on similar issues and compare them against one another across the board, even though we have 2 races. So introductory comments will be 1 minute. We'll then go to general questions of 1 minute response as well. I do reserve the right to have a follow-up question, which would be 30 seconds, and then you will have 2-minute questions. Any questions on that? Your timekeeper, Mr. Buddy Burnett, has been doing a great job. Don't mess it up now. With that being said, let's kick it off with place 2, Eric Hall, 1 minute introductory comments.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you for coming out and being involved in the process. It's been amazing. It's one of the things I've seen the most that really gives me heart. As we've started this, I've been involved in state, local, and national politics for a while. And sometimes you get kind of jaded when you don't see enough people getting out. I've been really amazed. We talked about the amount of forums. It's been insane. Let me tell you, my journey to Frisco is different, I think, than most. My wife and I met at our church that we've been members of since 2002, Prestonwood Baptist Church. I decided to join the Army, and she was crazy enough to marry me 3 days before I left. On our way out, we stopped by and I saw all the stuff that was going on. I was like, I really want to live here in 20 years when I get out, because that was the plan. God had other plans, and I was out in just 8 years. So we moved back here as soon as we could, and we really enjoyed the community. I've always been a servant leader. I look forward to serving you here on City Council, and I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shauna Huffman, and I'm also running for place 2. My husband Brian and I have been married almost 18 years, and we moved here 12 years ago in 2004. We have 2 daughters who are both in Cobb Middle School here in the FISD. And we moved here, like many of you did, for the schools and for the community. We saw what was happening here in Frisco, and we wanted to be part of it. We moved from a neighboring community. I now work for the Chamber of Commerce, as the Director of Government Affairs, and I spend every day of my job working for the city, working to make the city better, working on the issues that impact each of you as residents and our business community, to make this the community that we know we're going to be when we grow up, but to continue to improve to get there. And I handle the issues for our government affairs that we're all impacted by: the roads, transportation, the water resources that we need, the bury the lines. All of those things I'm engaged in on a daily basis, and so I'm going to bring that expertise to the table and be in your city councilman. So I hope that I will have your support.
Good evening, my name is Terry Green, and I have been living here in Frisco for the past 14 years. I've invested my time, toil, and treasures here in Frisco by serving as the Child Protective Services Board President right now, where I take care of all the children. I was appointed the Plano Teen Court Judge, where I served for 4 years, while I took care of children on the teen court level. In addition, I have given my time to the Frisco Chamber of Commerce, where I was elected and served on the board and received the Chairman's Award, in addition to the Frisco Noon Rotary, where I received the Rotarian of the Year for my service that I provided there to the city of Frisco, as well as the Red Light Advisory Board appointed by the City Council, where I served on that advisory board for them. But most importantly, my treasurer has been here. I've brought my children here. We've raised my children here. I've spent my time here, and I've toiled here on behalf of all the citizens. I've started the teen court, the mock trial program here, put on a mock trial here for the city of Frisco and for the red light, for the city of Frisco. I put that mock trial on when we started that mock trial, and it's still in existence today for the children. So I look forward to your vote, and I look forward to serving the citizens. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Ash, and I'm running for Place 4 Frisco City Council. I'm the first one on the Place 4 side this evening. Thank you so much for being here this evening at yet one more candidate forum. My background is I'm a fifth-generation Texan, a rarity these days. I have a bachelor's in business administration from Baylor University, followed up by a bachelor's in nursing at the University of Texas in Austin. And my professional background has been in managing large urban emergency departments and trauma centers. My husband Fritz and I moved here 14 years ago because of the quality of life that we saw here in Frisco. We have 3 boys, ages 15, and then twins that are 11. We want to make sure, and the reason why that I'm running is to make sure that we ensure the quality of life in Frisco continues and that we continue to draw people here for that reason.
Good evening, I'm Bill Woodard. I'm an 11-year resident of Frisco. I moved here for the schools and fell in love with the city. I've been married to my wife Laura for 6 years now. We have 3 boys, one in elementary school, one in middle school, one in high school. So we're a little spread out right now. I'm looking forward to the youngest moving up to middle school next year. I got involved with the city of Frisco back in 2008 simply because the city made it easy to get involved. Things progressed a little bit. I've served on several boards and commissions over the years, starting with the Census Committee in 2009-2010. I've served on the last 2 charter review committees, which I chaired the most recent one. And I currently serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, which I've chaired for the last 2 years. I'm running for council because we're going to have a big transition coming up in our city, and we'll hear more about that later this evening. And I just want to get back to the city and make sure that we continue to build Frisco in the way that we've managed it in the past, and make sure it's a place that my kids and your kids want to come back to when they leave for college, and that they'll come back. Thank you for your support this evening.
My name is Lakshmi Tamala. I am running for City Council Place 4. Just want to give you a little bit of background about me. My parents came here from India in the 1960s. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and came to Texas in 1997. I have been in Frisco since 2009. My education background is that I have an undergraduate degree in accounting, a master's in taxation. I am a CPA. And in 2003, I decided that accounting was not my thing, so I switched to real estate, and I have loved that ever since. I just want to share a quote with you by Fred Rogers. How many people here remember Mr. Rogers from PBS? Okay. And he said, "We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say it's not my child, not my world, not my problem. And then there are those who see the need and respond, and those are my heroes. I am running for Frisco City Council because it's my turn to give back. I have been in the community working for many years, and as a CPA, as a realtor, as someone who has traveled the world, I believe I have a broader vision and experience that can really help as we go forward and grow. And I would love your support, and thank you all for coming tonight."
All right, let's get into the questions now. These will be 1-minute responses. And to start us off, there'll be a lot of turnover on council and mayor. Believe it or not, nobody knows there'll actually be a mayoral election next year, just in case nobody knew that. So there'll be a great deal of turnover on council, mayor, and in the city management office. With that being said, what would you do between now and the time that you would take office if elected to become effective immediately or as soon as possible in that next year? And we'll start with reverse order, starting with place 2. So, Ms. Green.
And I guess you're talking about between now and the next election in
When you
June?
would take office and or the next year?
Well, in order to continue what I've been doing, and that's getting out, meeting the residents, that's having a website to find out what people's issues are. Not only do I want to tell them about myself, what I can do for them, what I've done in the past, what I've done for Frisco, I also want to reach out to the individuals and find out what are your needs, what are your questions, what are your concerns. Because if you're not a good listener, you can't help solve the problem. And I always ask, if you had your opportunity to tell me what you would like to do, how would you like some issues resolved, what would you like to do in that respect? In addition, I think I would continue doing and serving the county and the children of Collin County, which I've been doing. That is serving as the CPS board president for 2 years, continuing to handle the budgets, preparing agendas, handling closed meetings, having citizen input, drafting a budget, not just having a budget handed to me, but drafting a budget. In the last 2 years I've been president, I've not had to ask for a tax increase from the county commissioners. So those are things I continue to do.
Ms. Hutchins?
So I would continue what I've already been doing for the last 2.5 years, and that is digging down deep into every one of the issues that we have currently within our city and looking for the solutions that we've already tried to throw at them and finding ways to continue to do the things we're doing, but also find the ways that we might need to tweak. I've already been down deep into the budget. I've already been down deep into our capital needs process and the bond things that we're doing over the next 5 years. I've already been down deep in the bury the lines process. I've already been down deep in working towards this new water reservoir. I would continue doing what I'm already doing. And what I would like to say with that is that we don't have time as city council members to learn the day we start working as a city councilman. We have to actually know this information going into this position because you start voting 5 minutes after you are sworn in. And so it is crucial that whoever you elect has that knowledge and that down deep understanding from day one and doesn't need to take all of the extra time leading up to those decisions going forward.
Joe?
I've learned, and it's served me well in business, in the political organization, my nonprofit, and in the military, that the best way to step up to a new challenge is to just get all the information possible. And sometimes you don't have the luxury of knowing exactly what that's going to be a year in advance, and that's kind of where we're at now. Now, I've been involved in the community. I know some of the issues that are coming up, but one of the things I believe in is citizen input. So I make myself extremely accessible. I've done that in every organization. The power of social media makes that amazing. That's one of the reasons I've set up my website and my Facebook page where I actually respond to those who have reached out to me and asked me what my views are and share their concerns with me. I'll make myself accessible. Well, the other thing I will do is I will go and engage with every leader that is currently serving, that will be leaving, and those that will be staying here, because once we're staying here, we'll have to work together. So we need to know where those crossover points are, and even the points of disagreement. And the ones that are leaving, take advantage of that wealth of knowledge. Lastly, I will use the leadership skills that I've gained and the things that I've done, especially between the Army, between leading other organizations, to make good decisions based on principle and based on the opinions of the voters.
And once again, we'll go in reverse order and place fourth.
So I have been learning about the city since I moved here from various sources, whether it was meeting with directors of the various departments, whether it was being involved in development in the city. And one very unique thing about my perspective is that I am in real estate. I've helped hundreds of families move to Frisco. I know what they want. I know what they like about those neighborhoods. And so much of the city as we move forward is that development. So I already have a good amount of knowledge. However, one thing I would want to do before actually taking office, if elected in that time, is I would want to start a community outreach where we reach out to all the different and diverse backgrounds that this city has to offer and understand them, really understand what they're coming from, what's working, what's not working, because it's so important that we serve the people that elected us. And by serving the people, we need to understand them even better than what we think we already do. And so that would be the first step that I would take.
Yes, I continue doing what I'm already doing, serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sitting on that commission, I regularly meet with our development services staff, obviously. I also meet regularly with our traffic and engineering departments. I speak with our water departments, and I regularly work with our city council on a lot of issues as well. Those are absolutely critical as we step in. As Ms. Huffman alluded to, you have to vote 5 minutes after you're sworn in. I'm unique in this position, and I'm the only one that served on the City Board of Commission before. So I have a lot of knowledge about the operations currently across all departments. Obviously, there would be some meetings with the city manager to get up to speed on some executive level items. But aside from that, I believe I've got the experience and the knowledge going in that I've got a head start in meeting the city's needs.
You know, the thing that I would do if you elect me is the thing that I've done professionally, and that's what I do when I come into every new organization, and that is to develop a strategic plan. And what you do is, we have an old saying here in Texas, and it's not meaning to be disrespectful to anybody, but if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And so, as a strategic planner and a background of a person who that's how you carry out every day is to have a plan, what I would do first is to develop that strategic plan. I would look through every aspect of our city. I would look through aspects of personnel, budget, departments, staff, spending, debt, stakeholders, and I would meet with every one of those, review every document that we have, and then I would start to develop a strategic plan that met the needs of our citizens here in Frisco, according to what our citizens say their needs are.
Very good. At this point in time, I'd like to exercise my right to a couple of follow-up questions. Ms. Huffman, to start off, you mentioned having been working at the Frisco Chamber of Commerce. There have been some comments that might be perceived or could be construed as being a conflict of interest, working at the chamber and serving on city council. Do you believe that is or is not a conflict? And why so? In 30 seconds.
I believe it is not a conflict of interest because we are not city-owned or city-supported financially through tax dollars. We are member-owned and member-driven. There is a process for any policies that come through the chamber. They do not come through me. They start with the policy committee. They go through the government affairs committee. They then go through the board of trustees that is there for the chamber. I do not make those decisions. They are a group of people going all the way through that process those types of policies and positions we take. I would also say that, for example, the president of the chamber was vice president of the chamber when he served on council for 6 years, and many of the people in this room supported him at that time in doing that position.
Thank you. And Ms. Edge, I'd like to follow up with you on this question as well. Your background involvement with multiple political groups and organizations has been extensive, and you're also in a unique field that, honestly, I can't remember running for or serving on city council. Can you go into a little bit of detail on your civic involvement, committees, boards, specifically related to the city, and how that fits into your ability to serve on council?
So you're asking specifically about the city of Frisco. So some people look at the city of, sorry about that. Some people look, sorry.
One question going on? Okay.
Can I start over? Some people look at the city of Frisco and they look at involvement and they only think that you've been involved in the city of Frisco if you've served on a Frisco board or appointed board, okay? I have served as the president of Frisco Area Republican Women. I've served on the board of the Liberty Institute. I've served as a Republican delegate to the state convention ever since 2004. And it's a broader picture. It's not working just here within the city on city appointed boards. It's working in a bigger aspect than just here in the city. That's how I see it.
Thank you very much. Now, the Chamber of Commerce being a business organization, we're focused in obviously on the business sector, advocating for growth, good tax base, and how the rest of the city is going to build out. The city is now about land-wise, about 60% built out. Population-wise, maybe about 40%. What do you feel are the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead with that remaining 40% of land? And we will start with middle of place 4 this time, so Mr. Wood.
By far the biggest challenge we're going to have is the continued rapid growth that we have. We experience that every day on planning and zoning when we see the number of cases that we see come through every 2 weeks. That rapid growth affects everything from water usage to the strain on our police and fire departments. I'm well aware of what those strains are, which is why I've received the endorsements from both our Frisco Police Officers Association and our Frisco Firefighters Association. In order to manage this going forward, you have to be able to look at those plans, look at all those developments coming in, and understand what that's going to impact, not just immediately right there on the ground right there, but what that's going to impact 10, 20, 30 years from now. That takes a lot of work to learn that and to understand what those impacts are. I joke about it a little bit, but I don't measure things in days and weeks anymore. I measure things in months and years, because some of these projects will literally take several years to get off the ground and to get it built. So it's important that we focus on the long term and what those long-term impacts are.
We'll go to your left next. And probably, if you guys want to pass that mic down, we'll have it here in pieces of battery and pieces of
So we have 40% of our land remaining, and that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Because for me, you know, I have a very long-term vision of Frisco, that it's got to be a great place to live for many, many years. So even when I'm 95 years old, Frisco's got to be a great place to live. My children can move here, my grandchildren can move here, my great-grandchildren can move here, and it still needs to be an excellent, thriving place. And that can only happen if we do amazing things with the 40% that's left. So making sure that we use that land wisely as development comes in, that we make sure it's great development, as our parks and recreation are developed, as our open spaces are kept, that we do amazing things with them to make sure that we are taken care of for the very long term. So as far as the 40% goes, I think that's what we have to make sure that we have visionary thinking on council. We've been so lucky in the past to have mayors like Mayor Simpson, who's here today, and Bob Warren and Kathy Zia and Mayor Masso, who are true visionaries. We need to make sure that on the next council we have visionaries again.
Is that?
You know, I don't know if you know this, but if you look at the current comprehensive plan, did anybody move here because they still want to get in? Anybody move here because they wanted to live in Dallas? Not one of us. In fact, many of us moved here because we didn't want to live in Dallas. We wanted the quality of life and the small town feel that's here in Frisco. At the current rate, if we do what's proposed in the current comprehensive plan, our density of population will be 1.5 times the density of the city of Dallas. It will be over 5,000 people per square mile, and the city of Dallas is about 3,500 per square mile. I think that's a big concern. I think we want to look at how we're doing with that remaining 40% and how we're using it. And if that is our true vision for Frisco. That is not my true vision for Frisco, to have that density that the city of Dallas does.
We'll go to the reverse order here as well, so
With the remainder of the 40% that we have built out, we have 73% already planted. The biggest issue is going to be water. We're a member of the North Texas Municipal Water District right now, and it is supplying us 1.7 million gallons. And we have 5 reservoirs now, and we have one coming up, the lower Boyd Ark, that we're trying to get online. But we have to be able to continue to conserve our water for those 40% of the individuals that are moving in, or we can tie into existing lines, or we can create a new source of water, which should be online around 2017. In addition, we have to look at the infrastructure. The majority of the growth and concentration now is in the southwest corridor of Frisco, Larned of Frisco. The majority of it's going to be going in the northwest quadrant. I do believe in obviously bringing businesses to Frisco. I set up around the Chamber of Commerce, and that was one of our goals. However, I'm all for open spaces, parks, and having individuals come and have a place to live if they want a larger home, if they want to live in a home and not live in a multi-use area.
So I do think that water is one of the key issues that we need to look at. And just as a correction, the water reservoir is not scheduled to come online until probably 2020 or 2021 because of the delays that have been going. And I've actually been at the forefront of trying to push for some action on this and working with our elected officials. I also think along with water, some of the issues that we're going to have is keeping our services high and our tax rate low. The more people we have move in and the more strain there is on our services, whether it's libraries or parks or our public safety, any of those things, it's going to be crucial that we find ways to supplement our tax base so that we can keep the taxes low, because we've grown very accustomed to very high amenities here and very high standards. And the last thing we want to do is have those standards drop. I would say with that because I have such a focus on that, I also have received the endorsement of both the police and fire because they see my vision and my leadership in going forward is the best way to make sure that we can keep those services high.
As I go out and as I talk to voters, while I'm knocking on doors, or even in a lot of these forums, one of the biggest concerns is keeping Frisco. One of the reasons that a lot of us moved here is we do like the open space. We we also like the conveniences. We like the ability that we have great places where you want to buy a house, but for me and my wife personally, we love the fact that we still get to live in a mixed-use development and have that urban living without having to live in Uptown or Addison and not have the lifestyle with the values we want. The other one I get is making sure that we have fiscally responsible growth. And as we attack this, and as we develop out, making sure that we do pay taxes. One of the benefits I've had right now is I've sat down a lot, but I've also been endorsed by the most fiscally responsible organization in the state, Texas for Fiscal Responsibility, Empire Texans. And one of the reasons I got that endorsement is I committed to be a taxpayer watchdog and make sure that we're good stewards of your money. Because at the end of the day, sheriffs, government has no money. It all comes out of your pocket. I know a lot of our guys in Washington like they have a bank account, but at the end of the day, it comes out of our pocket. We know that at this local level. I will be your watchdog and make sure that we take care of your money and be good stewards.
We switched up the order there, so I want to make sure everybody got that question in, right? Okay. Mr. Mull, I wanted to follow up with you on that one. With your real estate background, are there any specific things that you would have done differently or that you think specifically need to be done with that remaining 40% as it relates to land development and real estate? That would be a 30-second response.
So one of the specific things that I think we need to make sure is we're going to have a lot more residential development coming in, as we all know. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, we had about 3,000 single-family home permits issued in 2015. So as these neighborhoods come in and as people plan to develop them, I think we need to listen to the citizens of Frisco who have expressed what they liked and what they didn't like about our neighborhoods. Some of the best neighborhoods in Frisco have certain characteristics which have not been followed in the recent years. So I think it's very important that we work with developers to make sure that our neighborhoods are family friendly and will stand the test of time long term.
30 seconds does not last long. So thank you very much. Let's stay on that same focus as far as future and what's going to be best for the business community. Transportation. There's no doubt you cannot get across town. Even with better roads, it takes you twice as long to get across town now as it used to 19 years ago when I got here. A lot of people are worried about that given the development that we're having in the strategic plan. What are your thoughts about how to best plan for better traffic, better transportation issues, and does that include some sort of public transit? And that'll be 1-minute questions, and we will start with Ms. Huffman over here, and then follow with Ms. Paul.
Just making sure I got the whole question.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously transportation is an issue because we're all sitting in traffic a lot longer this year than we were 2 years ago and previously. And that is a frustration that a lot of our residents feel. One of the things that I think that's key in that is we already put in money to the DCTA to help out in some of our public transportation needs. Does that mean that we should go into a situation like DART? At this point, it's a money pit. If you look at what Plano has put into it and Addison and several other cities, the millions of dollars that they have put into that service and what they have received from that, it's just not worth it for us. We could better use those dollars to invest in bringing other businesses here. In that same conversation, I think that in our developments, we need to do a better job of planning the connectivity between the developments. We need to make sure that we are working for ways that you can get from development and shopping center and retail center to the business centers. There are things that we can do creatively to do that, whether that's hike and bike paths, whether that's making sure that there's shuttle buses going between, things like that. Those are all creative ways that we can look for doing that.
I believe looking at this and knowing that traffic is going to be a huge concern, I mean, we do have a plan already in place that we've planned out for the next, as the development goes for the next 20 years, but I think that we need to continually be looking at ways to adjust that. The second thing is I look at public transportation is not necessarily a bad thing. DART, I don't think reflects the values of this town. DART's never like that. I think that maybe looking at some other option is one of the things I would like to look at. I honestly don't know what that is yet, but I'm open-minded there. Because one of the things I believe is that as we continue to grow, especially as we continue to bring jobs here, We'll make it easier for people to get around who work and live and play here. Maybe they don't have to drive all the time. The other thing is bringing jobs in and making sure you can have your small business here. I currently have to make that commute, and I hate it. Can't wait till we get to be here where I don't have to drive down to Dallas every day. And that makes it a little bit easier on you because we're not clogging up the tollway and trying to fight traffic. I remember when I first moved here, it took me 15 minutes to get down to where I need to go. And now I'm on a good day, I'm 25, on a bad day, it's an hour. So I'd like to make that a lot easier by just making it where people can come here. We bring in more business here and keep people working here. Thank you.
That's great.
Well, regarding the transportation, that is an issue because the more businesses you bring in, the more families you bring in, the more concentrated it's going to be in trying to get us moving around. We were at a function the other day with Stephen Jones, and Mayor Mosso was sitting there talking about it. And he even indicated to us at his breakfast the other day that he'd been over in one of the foreign countries and they had 100-lane traffic and they still were backed up. So it's not building more roads, because the more roads that we continue to build and build and build, the more congested they're going to be. We also discussed some things about the light rail system. Right now we have the BNSF Railroad, and we can have a line that runs through there, but it's going to be 20, 30, 40 years down the road before we get something along those lines, and we're not all the way built out right now. However, they were discussing about maybe possibly putting something like a bus line that goes along the BNSF Railroad so people can go up and down and get around here in the city. But I do agree, I think that we're going to have some kind of a way to connect, for example, the Star Center over with Hall Financial Park, over with the mall and so on. And maybe we can have that hike and bike trail that we need in the bike lanes that we have. Thanks.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes, traffic is certainly a problem. I remember when I moved here 10 years ago, and El Dorado was 2 lanes, and so was Preston. It took me 30 minutes to get across it. We've done a lot over the years. We do a lot better planning. We have a thoroughfare master plan in place. A lot of our roads are initially built out 4 lanes, and then we can add 2 more in as traffic demands dictate. It is correct, there's going to be times that there will be traffic. You cannot physically put down enough concrete to handle all the cars all the time. Plus it would be exorbitantly expensive. We are looking at a variety of different factors though. Some of them technology-based. Right now all of our lights are controlled essentially on a timing cycle. There's software out there that our engineering department's looking at that will adjust those timing dynamically to help cars move quicker. We're looking at installing roundabouts in new developments which keep traffic moving and don't queue them up. The possible retrofitting of others if it's cost effective. So there are other solutions out there outside of just building more roads and more concrete where we continue to queue up cars. No, I'm not in favor of light rail. However, our master plan does include several stops so that at some point in the future, wrap this up, so that at some point in the future some council decides it's worth it, we've already planned for it.
Same order, is that?
You know, when we first moved to Frisco, excuse me, there was no Dallas North Tollway that came all the way up to Frisco, and one of the biggest traffic hazards that Mike Simpson had to deal with in our neighborhood was cows walking through his yard. So things definitely have changed considerably. One of the things that I want to address is the cost. I too agree with Ms. Huffman that the cost for participating in DART, though it sounds great to have public transportation, if the city of Plano, by experience, they have paid $1 billion, with a B, $1 billion into DART, and the ridership is so low that they could have paid for the entire San Rayburn Tollway for what they have spent. That is not fiscally conservative. I too am endorsed by Empowered Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, because they know that I'm going to treat your dollars just like they came out of my own pocket. And one of the things that we're going to make sure that we do is deal with our partners in the county on the Denton side and on the Collins side to make sure that we get things like 423 and 380 done, and we don't bear all of the cost.
So I agree with what most everybody has said. We cannot put down enough concrete. And what Ms. Green was referring to, Mayor Mosso was in China, and there was a 100-lane freeway, 50 lanes going each way, and it was backed up with traffic. So you can never put down enough concrete. How many of you are ready to give up your cars? So our issue is, there's a couple of different things. Number one is density, okay? And we've alluded on it before. If we can reduce the density of the city, that will help our traffic issues, number one.
Number two, I think we do need public transportation. DART is not it. $1 billion does not make sense. And so it's going to be a bus system is what I can see as a very achievable goal that we together have to work on and make that happen, especially once the Cowboys, the Star, everything starts happening in the $5 billion mile. I do think we are going to need something, and I think the best thing that we can do is an on-demand service to help people get around, and also a bus system.
We're trying to keep everything on schedule. It was supposed to be 8 o'clock. We got a little bit of start, but I'm trying to get as many questions in. So let's change it up and go for a very brief answer now. I think I know the answer. This is your statement being against or for the alcohol proposition. So let's just go in no particular order. We're right down the road here, starting with Mr. Hall. Are you for or against the alcohol proposition? And as briefly as you can, why? Maximum of 30 seconds, please.
I am against, and the reason I'm against is twofold. One, the way it was done was completely wrong. It was done, it wasn't citizen driven, it was driven from the outside. We don't have people outside of Frisco telling us what to do. Two, it is vaguely, well, it's not vaguely worded. It seems clear, but we know what it's actually saying. It's not saying that the impact it's going to have it makes it sound like something that I would vote for. And so that concerns me. We're trying to trick our citizens into voting for something that doesn't reflect what they want in their values. So I'm definitely against this. We want to readdress this later, maybe liquor stores or something like that. If citizens want it, have them bring it another way.
I'm against the proposal because for the simple reason that I believe we've set up, of course, a plan. We've worked at that plan to make sure that this is a community of high standards. This proposition takes away our ability to continue that plan and maintain high standards, and I won't accept that.
I'm against the proposition as well. We already have in place a procedure if you want to get and open up a bar here in town, and you can go through the planning and zoning, have citizen input. After that, you go to the city council and have citizen input, take it to a vote, let the citizens vote on that issue, and you get a special use permit. So we already have a process and procedure in place that individuals who want to open a bar, so I'd be against it.
No surprise, I'm against it too. And as a nurse, you learn to translate very complicated things into very simple language. So as a citizen, here's what I'd like for you to remember. If this proposition passes, you lose all input into your city regarding bars and establishments that sell alcohol. You lose all input. Any bar, any establishment that sells alcohol, liquor stores, regardless, can be put anywhere in the city as long as it's more than 300 feet from a church or school, and you will have no say.
I'm against it as well. We have an SUP process in place that works. I've participated in that process, so I've seen it do that. This proposition takes away local control and gives it to the state, and I don't believe that's good for the citizens of Frisco. We've all heard a lot of different things from a lot of different residents that have opinions on this, but at the end of the day, if there's something that our citizens want to change, we need to have that conversation in public hearings in front of our city council and not have this driven by a single business that wants to change the rules because they can't follow the rules.
So I am also against the proposition. I'm against it because the wording is deceiving, number one. I'm also against it because I feel that the city should have some control over bars and where they are. And I don't think that Frisco is a city that wants the loosest form of legislation when it comes to alcohol in the state. And so I think that we can all vote against this one, and if we need to have a conversation on having liquor stores in town or some other form of legislation, we can talk about that as long as it's Frisco citizen driven and not driven from outside of Frisco.
Thank you very much to everybody. I thought it was important. With every candidate being against it, I thought it was important to hear from everybody in the reasons why. With that being said, there's been a lot of comments made about endorsements by different organizations, different individuals, and I'd like to jump into that. All of your material have those endorsements. Also, the Dallas Morning News is a great website where you can line up candidates and look at different issues. So would each of you please, in no more than a minute, tell us some specific organizational or individual endorsements that you are most proud of and why they are relative to the position you are seeking. And we'll start with Ms. Ashton first.
Yeah, we just should throw that one in. I'm endorsed by a number of folks. I'm endorsed by State Representative Matt Shaheen. I'm endorsed by Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. Probably the one that means that there's a host, and you can look on our website or on our material, of course. But the one that I think is most significant to you, the citizens of Frisco, is Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. That's a very, very difficult endorsement to get. It's a very rigorous questionnaire that you answer, and it's a very rigorous vetting process that you go through. They understand that the people that they endorse will treat your money like it's coming out of their own pocket. And that is what I plan to do. So as far as the city, that doesn't mean we don't have the greatest city in Texas. We will. But that means that we treat every dollar like it's our own.
I've received endorsements from the Frisco Police Officers Association, the Frisco Firefighters Association, as well as several of our current city councilmen, several of our existing ISD board trustees, individually by the entire Planning and Zoning Commission, and a couple of dozen of individuals that sit on various other boards and commissions with the city. All of these are important to me because I believe it shows my work and dedication with the city, how I've interacted with the staff, with our other partners such as the ISD, as well as the community members as a whole.
I am very proud to say that my campaign is a very grassroots campaign. It's all about the people of Frisco working together, and the people of Frisco are what are most important. So the endorsements that I am so proud of are from people in the community who have given years and years and years of their lives to this city. We have one here, Ms. Isabel Sim, who was the first Frisco ISD female board member back in 1977. Peter Burns, Citizen of the Year, I believe, 2015, as well as Mindbender Camp and other things. Deborah Nelson, Dan Mosikowski, some wonderful, wonderful people who have served this community, and it makes me so humble and proud to be endorsed by them.
We're doing the same order here.
Through my involvement in getting to know lots of people here, I have the privilege of being supported and endorsed by several local, state and local political and business leaders. But I too, the one I'm most proud of is because it was the one that didn't just go off of people knowing me, it went off of the questionnaire and the vetting process, is my endorsement for Texas for Fiscal Responsibility and Empower Texans. The reason is because they see the need. They see that Texas is number 4 nationally in public health data. They see that we have an opportunity in Frisco, and they look at places like Frisco and South Lake and other communities that are fast growing, and they see that we have an opportunity to either be heroes or completely screw it up and cost our citizens a lot of money. They saw that I have the principles and the ability to look at this in a very fiscally responsible way, to manage your dollars as if they were my own, because they really are, and to watch out and be a taxpayer watchdog for you guys. So I'm very proud of that endorsement. It is a very hard one to get, as Ms. Ash said, and it makes me proud that they chose me.
I am proud to be endorsed by both the Frisco Fire Association and the Frisco Police Association, those who are in the trenches, saving our lives on a daily basis. Those are the ones who are working for us and working hard, and through their very extensive vetting process, they, as I said before, chose to support me with my leadership and what I bring to the table. I'm also very proud to be supported by 5 of our 6 current city council members, because I really think I bring all of the same agreements to the table, but because they know that I come prepared, they know that I come researched, and they know that I know my stuff. And when we get together, even if we disagree on something, we find ways to come back to the next issue and collaborate together and work together. And that is what you want. You want people who bring in their leadership not only the knowledge, but they are good to work with. And people can work with them and follow them. And that's the type of leader that you want to bring to the table. And so I'm very proud of the ISD support that I have with the board members. I'm very proud of, probably my biggest accomplishment is that my daughters support me and that they've encouraged me from day one to do this. And I'm very proud to have that.
I am very proud and humbled to have the endorsement of over 36 elected officials across Collin County. And why is that? It's because they have worked with me. They haven't given me instructions on what to do. I've been working with them hand in hand. My number one, because of public safety, is the public safety sector. Because of all my work that I've done, is Sheriff Terry Box. He's very hard to get. He didn't have to fill out a questionnaire to get his endorsement. You have to be able to work with him over the years and see what you have done. Next is for the judge who appointed me, the associate probate judge, to take care of all of the mental health docket and all the people that are in not only Collin County but in Frisco as well. I'm endorsed by 5 of the local mayors that are contiguous to Collin County because you know what? We have to work out and work with people on a regional level. We can't just work with individuals in Frisco. If we move up to Salina or Prosper, we need to know those mayors up there. In addition to Jody Laubenberg, our state representative, because I've been down to Collin County days. I've been down and put down and argued and had issues before the legislators down there. In addition to county commissioners who are working on my campaign as well. You can see I have my sheet here that has any other endorsements, all the other endorsements on it, the people that I've worked with. But I did not interview for the fire department because I don't believe in, we should have a unionize of our organizations. We should have individuals that can come in and visit with us.
Sorry, I've got to try to keep it steady, keep it consistent. I did want to follow up on 1 or 2 there, and this would be 30-second responses. Mr. Hall, earlier in past forums, it was mentioned to me at one point that you had indicated, and I want to get clarification, State Representative Pat Fallon had endorsed you. And I've also heard some comments that in fact he had not endorsed you, so I wanted to get some clarification on, has he endorsed you or not endorsed you? How would you reconcile the differences that may be out?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. I actually had a conversation with Representative Fallon today. So it was a miscommunication on my part, and I'll take responsibility for that. He said that he would support me and help me because he believed I was conservative. He said he does not publicly endorse. So I will not be saying I'm publicly endorsed by him anymore. He and I had a nice lengthy conversation about the importance of making sure that we kept conservative leadership in Frisco. In the middle of that hour and a half, words got mixed, and like I said, I clarified that with him this morning. And going forward, I will just talk about the support of the state representative.
And I want to follow up also with Ms. Green. In the process of looking over, it was also brought to my attention that when you filled out the Dallas Morning News submission form, there was one section on there that asked about publicly held or sought elected offices. And it was mentioned to me that we believe that at one point in time you ran for the 380th District Court and were involved in a wrong. Is that accurate? And if so, why was that not included in your Dallas Morning News?
Because it asked if you were elected, and I was not elected to that position. I will, one, be primary but not the runoff. The associate probate judge is an appointed position by the judge. I do not have to engage in any kind of campaigning for that position. The Child Protective Services Board is an appointed position, and so those would be the elected, except that I was the elected recently in November for the Texas Federation of Republican Women to the SDA as district director, but I stepped down and we now have a new district director. So those were that was the elected one.
I just wanted to offer up clarification again, because if I'm looking at the language, it actually says previous public offices sought/held.
Okay. Well, that was an oversight, so it would have been sought.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to get at one question before we get to the closing statements, because there are a lot of, we kind of gave the school board the opportunity to talk about their legacy. So if it's all right, we're going to cut it down to 30 seconds, and we will go in reverse order by each one, starting with place 4. 30 seconds, what would be your legacy upon leaving, if you were elected to the position, upon leaving that position at some point in time down the road?
So we have had amazing leadership in the past, and they are handing us a great and beautiful city. But we have so much more that we need to achieve. So the legacy that I would leave behind is that I would like to make the city even better than it is today. And that's a big task because we're already in a very good spot. So now the goal is to make it even better and to hand off a city that we can be proud of for generations to come.
I've been part of the city for a while and served in several leadership roles over the years and been part of a lot of the master planning that we've done. Probably one of my biggest passions is our parks and open spaces though, and I've dedicated a lot of time to that on planning and zoning. as well as on my own time helping lead a group of volunteers to build 8 miles of trail out of our Northwest Community Park property. So I'd like my legacy to be the improvement to our parks and some of those things that we've put in place since I've been working with the city.
You know, my greatest honor, look, it worked. My greatest honor would be for the citizens of Frisco to come back and say, you know, because Cindy Ash served on council, we had a voice. The citizens of Frisco are well represented. We feel like we have input with the council. We feel like the council hears us. We feel like people of different, from different areas across the city, different backgrounds, all different kinds of aspects were appointed to boards, and we feel like we're well represented.
I would want my legacy to be that I continue to invest my time and my talents and my treasures in Frisco, and that I followed the rule of law, and I was a good listener for all of the citizens that came before me and was able to help them with the questions and concerns that they have. That's what I do on a daily basis as an attorney and as a judge. I listen to all the facts. I listen to the pros and cons. I'm not persuaded by anybody by telling me one thing or the other. I'm my own individual person, and I would be able to do that same and bring that same talent to the Frisco City Chamber of Commerce, as well as to the city of Frisco as a city councilman. Continue to work with the chamber, continue to work with the city, continue to work with the FISD.
I would love for my legacy to be that I helped to grow the business community more so that we could have a lower tax rate for our citizens and help shoulder the tax rate for us to keep our standards high in our amenities and make sure that that standard doesn't ever dip so that we're always proud of the community that we live in and the community that we serve. I would also like to say that once it's all over with, that even if someone disagreed with me, that I was good to work with, that I listened to the others around me, that if we disagreed on one issue, that we came back the next time around and we found things that we could work together on to continue to make this city great.
Legacy is important. I talk about that at work all the time. And one of the things I go to is the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children bigger than the one that was left for him. What that looks like for me in the city is leaving Frisco fiscally sound and better off than it was when I got here. And living Frisco where I have created a place where I have given citizens a voice because we're a diverse community, and that more citizens stand up and exercise that voice to hold their elected leaders accountable and keep Frisco great.
And now we'll wrap things up with closing statements. We will go in reverse order. We'll start with place 2 and then go to place 4 in reverse order. So Ms. Green, you will start us off with 2 minute closing statements.
First of all, I want to thank the Frisco Chamber of Commerce for having this event. The last time I came to one of these forums, I was sitting on the other side as a board member. But Frisco has been blessed to have great leaders and great visionaries in the future. In the past and going on to the future, we have to look at what we're going to be bringing to the table, who's going to be able to be a leader. I think you've heard from things that Brent said tonight that I bring the leadership. It takes a long time to develop to be a leader. It takes more than just working on one project. You can't look at the past about things that have gone on with Bury the Lines and about the water reservoir. You have to look to the future to see what's going to be happening. You have to bring that passion that you had. I've served on the Frisco Chamber of Commerce. I received the Chairman's Award because I had the passion. I was working. Frisco Rotary, I got the Rotarian of the Year Award because I continued to work. Even after I left, I continued to work service above self. I served the children of Collin County as their CPS as their president for 6 years, appointed by Matt Shaheen, our state representative, reappointed by Susan Fletcher. These are individuals that could have appointed anyone sitting up here, but they didn't. They chose me for that high honor to continue to take care of these children. In addition, I have continued to work in the city of Frisco, serving their citizens, not only as the mental health docket, handling the mental health docket, handling individuals who have mental health issues, but that's not just for Collin County, it's for Frisco residents as well. Regarding the Frisco Independent School District, I was the county co-president for the golf team. In addition to that, for the Kate Center, I helped develop and devise and implement the mock trial courtroom over there. I've served as a mock trial coach here for the FISD students. I've been involved in every facet of Frisco, not just one, not from the chamber, but from the school perspective. I served on the Red Light Advisory Board appointed by the City Council. But not only have I just gone to listen to city council, I've actually participated, always for the good of the citizens, for the children of Frisco. That's implementing the mock trial, and which is still going on today, and the teen court, which is still going on today in Frisco. So I ask for your vote that you continue to allow me to lead Frisco in the next 3 years. And Tony said I have to sit down. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for coming out to learn more about the candidates. It does show that you're educated voters, and I think that's one of the most important things we can do to continue to keep our community strong. As I said tonight, I bring to the table a wealth of knowledge of the issues that are facing us as Frisco. I'm not elected to represent the rest of the region. If you elect me as council member, I'm elected to serve Frisco and to handle the needs of Frisco. That's what the job is, and that's what you're electing to me, and that's what I'm running for. So I hope that you will see that as a key priority. The other thing is that I bring to the table a lot of knowledge on the issues that aren't past issues. They're actually current issues and going forward issues over the next 5 years. Bury the Lines hasn't been decided yet. Bury the Lines is actually going to go on continuously, and we're going to have some more issues on the east side with some of our utility issues. We also, the water project is still going on. It hasn't even really begun yet because that fight has just started, and we're trying to get that on quickly. These are issues and transportation issues, bringing business in to help us keep the tax rate low. Those are things that I'm working on and have been continuing to work on a daily basis. So I bring that in-depth knowledge to the table. I understand that a lot of our candidates have experience in a lot of areas, and I do not devalue those areas, nor do I think that their experience is not worthy. However, when you're running for city council, the things that you need to bring to the table is knowledge and understanding of what is happening in your city and where your city is going and how to dig down deep into those issues as opposed to just spouting details. It is important to understand the policies, and that is what I bring to the table. You know, you can have experience for 20 years in doing a lot of things, but if it's not being a pilot, I'm not getting in your plane. And that's a simple little example to say that you can have experience in a lot of areas, but if it's not in what the city needs and not in how we're going to fix those problems, then you're not what we need at this point. And I am the candidate that brings that to the table. I hope that you will see that I have the most leadership and that those who work with me enjoy working with me and enjoy my leadership traits because I do coalesce people and bring them to the table with their ideas. Hope you vote for me in place 2. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming out tonight. As you've heard a lot, leadership is an issue, and it's going to be essential now that we're going to go through this transition, which is hard to do anyway, to go through a massive leadership transition, but with a growing city presents new challenges. One of the things I love, and I've devoted my life to this, is the process. I'm undergrad at Poli-Sci, Master's of Constitutional Law. I love the process, and the founders intended to have a citizen-led government. Sometimes that means you're bringing in experience and outside opportunities from other things. Most of the time, that's what that means. To come in and share and represent your citizens. I think it's good because you probably have a really good grasp of their views because you truly are one of them. I also had the privilege of going to the best leadership school in the world. I spent 8 years in the United States Army. It taught me a few things. One, if you want to be a great leader, you have to be a servant. Everybody starts out as a private, except for these officers who shortcut the system. No offense, no. I thought about doing that myself, but even they start out in basic training. So, you learn how to serve. The next thing you do is you learn to stand up and do what's right and have integrity no matter what. I know that I can do that and I will represent the citizens well because that's been my life. I come from a legacy of service and I will continue to serve you. As I currently do, I serve a lot in the political community because I want to give my people a voice. I've worked with the Young Conservatives of Texas for over 3 years on the state board, Young Republican, Central Young Republican Federation for the last 2 years on the state board. I currently serve as the Vice Chair for Engagement for the Collin County GOP here, and I will continue to be a voice for all citizens because I work with everybody, even if they don't agree with me, because I will be representing every one of them. I can bring those things to the table. I believe that Frisco has time for a fresh face, a fresh voice that will represent all the citizens of Frisco. And I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your candidate for the City Council Place 2. We'll now go on to Place 4 closing comments. There's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in a minute.
Thank
thank you all so much for coming today and taking the time to get to know the candidates. I am not leaving Frisco. I'm going to be here for 50 more years, and I am really dedicated to make sure that this is a great place to live for the long term. That means many things. It means bringing in a big business to Frisco. It means promoting and supporting our small local businesses so that we have a unique place to live. It means not having dividing lines of progress like so many other cities around us, where half the city's a great place to live and half not so much. It takes having a great partnership and continuing that great partnership with our school district. And it takes having people on council that have a vision and the dedication to make the future of Frisco the most important thing. I am really wanting to serve on city council, to serve City of Frisco, and to serve the people of Frisco, to be a voice for the people of Frisco. I am ready to dedicate the time necessary to make a difference. As this city grows, the time it's going to take to be a great city council person, to really understand the issues, gets larger and larger every year. And I am ready to dedicate that time, and I would love your vote. I am the only name on the ballot with an X in it. So if you forget, you can remember that. And I'm also number 3 on the ballot, all right? Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you all again for coming this evening. I think everybody that's been up on the dais this evening has one big thing in mind, and that's to keep Frisco family friendly and there for our kids. I don't think there's any dispute on that, but we have a big transition with the city coming up. We're going to see a majority of our city councilmen turn over in the next 2 election cycles. That's a big decision for everybody as voters to make. McKinney had a similar transition not too long ago, and they made some stumbles. Because of it, they've now gone through 4 city managers in a very short period of time. That's not something I want to see for Frisco. We need leaders that can step up and be ready to lead on day one. There's been talk about strategic planning and driving down density. We've got strategic plans. In fact, the 2 most recent ones, our comprehensive plan and our Parks Master Plan, were just updated this last year. Many of you all participated in that process. We're currently updating our Hike and Bike Master Plan, so I'd encourage you to participate in that as well. Those are our strategic plans. Those are what guides us, and we need effective leaders that can step in and execute on those plans that you as residents have put into place for us. I regularly meet with residents as part of my role on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'll continue to do that going forward. That includes people that don't agree with me, people that do agree with me, and anybody else that I can find that wants to have questions answered about the city. Again, I appreciate you all coming here this evening. Place 4 and the second one on the ballot. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them afterwards. Thank you.
Well, lastly, thank you all so much for being here and for taking your time to spend it with us this evening. You know, we've heard a lot about this amazing place that we live in, that we all chose because we love the quality of life here. And that's why our campaign slogan is much more to us than just a campaign slogan. It's Frisco Families First. And that is that we want to keep the quality of life that you moved here for. We want to keep that first. And that's going to require someone that not only has vision, but leadership ability. First of all, is the vision for keeping Frisco the place that you chose to move. You know, it's true that we had a comprehensive plan done in 2015. Sadly, about 20% of residents in Frisco now have lived here less than 3 years. But there was not one single representative on that commission that has lived here less than 3 years. So we didn't get a perspective of why people are flocking to Frisco these days. I think that's important. I think it's important as we watch the density. We watch the way that our neighborhoods are built. I so respect Councilman Cheney, who asked that one of the proposed neighborhoods be taken back to the drawing board because it wasn't in keeping with what we want here in Frisco. Frisco. And lastly, not only is it vision, but it's leadership. You know, we had a t-shirt at Parkland where I worked for 6 years and where I served as the unit manager, and the t-shirt said, "What's an ordinary day like at Parkland?" On the back it said, "Nobody knows." And the reason that's so important is because we don't know what our future holds, but we do know that we need to elect leaders who will not only represent you, but have the integrity and the leadership capability to deal with whatever life throws at our city. I'm Cindy Ash, and I appreciate your time, and I'm first on the ballot. I would appreciate your vote.
Stay up here because I know that when I release it, there will be chaos. So I'm asking you guys to indulge me for a couple more minutes. I asked Mr. Frank McAway, Chairman of our Governmental Affairs, to come up. I want to thank him and his subcommittee who are putting the room and the whole arrangements together for this forum, and have him either say some words or he's going to hand them to me. Yes, we have, is what is different from the last time I was running in any election, is we have straw polls now that has become very popular. So I believe whether it's a form like this, or I believe in cases you may have a white form, but one of those, if you would choose one, no, I'm saying forget the white forms, use only this form, and look for people. If you needed one, to hold your hand up, but we would like to have an opinion about the exit policy or the exit poll here in the straw poll. Once again, folks, whether you're a school board, you're place 2, you're place 4 in city council, please put your hands together for all of these folks that are willing to serve their time and make their community better. And with that, folks, I'm going to release everybody. 303 or mix and mingle. Be sure and get a straw poll. Vote here. Look for your orange cards and turn it in before leaving. Thank you very much. Remember to go out and vote. Early voting starts April 25th, election day, May 7th. Thank you all very much.
Sorry.